It's another day that the Lord has made, and thank you so much for choosing to spend time with us this beautiful evening. My name is Sarah Otieno, and we are live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio. Use the WhatsApp number 0786-316-316 and talk to us. SMS line 20316. Well, today we will be talking about online privacy. What does it mean to actually have online privacy? And right now that we have the internet all over the world, and also young children having access to internet platforms and social media platforms, how can we ensure their privacy as they go about their daily duties? Well, that and much more coming up in this hour of the show, but for now we get it started. ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has welcomed the amended version of the BBI report, saying that the concerns that were raised through his party, ANC, have been incorporated. Mudavadi has now expressed his support for the collection of the BBI signatures that was launched by President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday. He said a scrutiny of the document revealed that numbers of concerns raised by other bodies and institutions and Kenyans at large have not been addressed. Mudavadi has expressed concern on the establishment of the Office of the Judiciary Ombudsman and has called on the empowerment of the Senate.
Indeed, this bill has demonstrated a significant shift from the earlier proposals, and for this reason, we are encouraged by our insistence and that of many others, such as the Church, that consensus was given a chance. Our verdict is that this is progressive, in that the nominated MPs shall have shown interest in participating in elective politics, as opposed to the current system where political party discretion is often abused. Basically, what we are saying, even for the women, it is not them getting it for free. They will also have shown interest in participating in the election, and that is a criteria which had never been determined or put on the table before. So we look at it as a progressive move.
Well, talking about the signatures that will make sure there is the passing of the BBI report. And remember, yesterday we talked about how these signatures will be given by Kenyans through an online platform. We talked to different members of the public, and Kenyans just see if they would give their signature to pass the BBI report bill. And this is what they had to say.
Na mimi nitaweka sahihi sababu ninaona hii referendum tukiweka sahihi hii nchi itasaidika na pesa itatoka huko pande wa Nairobi na itakuja hapa machinani, na sisi kama watu wa bodaboda tutasaidika sababu sisi ni wa youth.
Hapana, sita sign kwa sababu hata BBI copy yenyewe mimi sijaiona na sijaisoma, kwa hivyo nikusikia tu nasikia lakini sijaiona, kwa hivyo ikikuja mimi sita sign.
Ikikuja hapa machinani sisi tutatia alama, kwa sababu yeye alisema kuna room ya watu kuongea. Ndio hii si ya kupiganisha watu, kuteganisha watu. Hii ni kitu ile anafikiria itaunganisha watu, makabila yote, wanabiashara wote, kila mtu wa aina ile ako Kenya, hii itatuunganisha. Kwa hivyo tutatia sign na tutafuata rais wetu.
BBI wacha ikuje tusaini hiyo kitu ipite. Sina maneno mengine. Tuendelee na kazi.
Chenye serikali nataka mimi ndauga ndio BBI ipite, at least tuone kama tutaokoa hii nchi kulingana na vyenye president wetu.
Well, this is what Kenyans are saying about the BBI report and whether they would sign this bill for it to pass. And I want to hear from you today. Would you sign for the BBI bill to pass? Would you sign? If it's a yes, please give me an explanation. And if it's a no, pia tuambie kwa nini you would not be signing for the BBI bill. Use the WhatsApp number 0786-316-316, SMS line 20316. In the meantime, the Interfaith Council is calling for stricter adherence to the COVID-19 protocol in social gatherings. And Vice Chairperson Reverend Connie Kivuti said that it was concerned concerned to see violation of the protocols when infections were on the rise. The council has also reported that its chairperson, Bishop Anthony Muheria, was now fully recovered.
Political class are not focused on the health crisis, but on other political issues. The Interfaith Council has also noted with great concern that our communities are not adhering to the Ministry of Health guidelines. And we are saying that no other services or meetings will be done within the places of worship except worship services. The numbers that will be attending funeral services is 100 people, with only 15 allowed at the graveside. The duration of the burial must not exceed 1 hour, and no food shall be served in funerals. During weddings, the numbers of those attending to be strictly 50 people. At weddings, food will only be served for the nucleus family.
Tunahuzunika kuona wanasiasa bado hawatilii mkazo mambo haya ya kupigana na janga hili la corona. Na pia tumesema kwamba tunawaomba, tunasi Wizara ya Afya pamoja na serikali za ugatuzi watafute nafasi waweze kuongea na wahudumu wa afya, kwa sababu hatungependa kuona jambo hili la corona likisambaa na hakuna wahudumu wa afya wanaoweza kuwasaidia wananchi.
All right, there we have it now. President Uhuru Kenyatta has called on the Kenya Defense Force officers to invest more in the continuous training so as to be better prepared to deal with the emerging security threats in the country. The president says the training must focus on imparting skills that will prepare the military to respond to diverse challenges from both conventional and asymmetric spheres. He was speaking at the Kenya Military Academy in Lanet, where he commissioned the 8th group of the military cadets that has undergone a 3-year training under the Bachelor of Science in Military and Security Studies program. He called on the graduating officers cadets to use the professional knowledge they have acquired to serve and protect the sovereignty of the nation, its people, and the region.
Contain the security challenges of the 21st century. Training within the military must be better aligned with emerging threats across all domains and the expanded demands placed on the shoulders of our forces.
Thank you, sir. Well, we wish all the best to the cadets that have graduated today from the Kenya Defense Force. Well, let's move on. The Directorate of Criminal Investigation is probing claims of act of bestiality in the coastal region. And according to the Kenya Film and Classification Board, there are people who have been arrested filming underage girls having sex with dogs. This is rather disturbing. And this matter has been taken up by the law enforcement agencies, with reports that people in custody will help the law enforcers nab the syndicate behind this immoral act.
We arrested people filming kids having sex with the dogs. Does anybody care? Because it is wrong. Watoto wetu wanaharibika, kuna shida, and there is no point of a parent working and having so much money and buildings everywhere when the foundation of this nation is going to the dogs, because our children do not subscribe to the same values that brought us to where we are. The same media, social media, that builds those celebs, when it turns on them, they commit suicide. They get into depression. And when people don't like me and they say negative things on social media, it doesn't affect me. I'm one of the most trolled people on social media. Kazi yetu sio kulinda watu wazima wanafanya nini. Lakini wale watu ambao wanakubalia watoto wapigwe films ama wawe recorded, watoto wakikunywa pombe, gyrating, doing those kind of things. Our concern is the more we make it look normal, the more we make it look cool, the more kids will get involved in these things, and eventually we'll lose control. We are where we are because when we spoke about Project X in 2016, people laughed at us and made it look like a joke. When we talked about these lesbian parties and the things that are happening in society, parents didn't take it seriously, schools didn't take it seriously. Right now, unaingia kwa ngari ya abiria, a public service vehicle, and it's exhibiting pornography during the day. So you wonder what has become of us as a society.
Well, this is one of those kind of stories that you listen to or you highlight and you're just left with no say. Remember, just the other day we talked about our teenagers engaging in sexual activities, in alcohol, and even drug use. And it's just so unfortunate that parents have to go through this. Now, bestiality, this is just on another level. And we need to go on our knees and pray for our children. Remember what Ann Gitao said when we were having the discussion about our teenagers. We really need to stand in the gap for our children. Let's move on. President Uhuru Kenyatta has not been active on social media for over a year now. President Uhuru deactivated his personal Twitter and Facebook accounts in March 2019, leaving official communication from the presidency to be disseminated through the official State House accounts. At that time, he was the most followed Kenyan with over 3 million Twitter followers. And the head of state has now come out to reveal he quit social media due to the barrage of insulting and distasteful comments he would receive as part of the feedback from the online users.
Kuna kipengele moja peke yake ambaye nimesema hapa ya kwamba nimesikiza wengi kutoka wajumbe, maseneta, viongozi mbali. Mimi siendi kwa magazeti, mimi nakutana na watu tu. Wewe sasa mimi sema. Niambie kwa sababu mimi sio mtu ya hiyo, hata Twitter mnaona na hiyo. Mimi niliondoka huko. Ngaona hii kitu ni bure, ni matusi tu. Hakuna kitu kingine inaendelea hapa. Right? Unakaa hapo unasoma hulali. Nini wanasema nini? Huyu sasa wewe unapiga simu, unaona vile huyu mtu amenituka. Afadhali nilale bwana. Niongee. Nipige story hapo na mama kidogo hapo. Nilale, niamke, niende kazi, dunia iendelee. Kama ni namna gani jamani?
Well, the president said afadhali alale. Maneno ya social media is just on another level. And talking of social media, after this break we will be talking about online privacy. Oh yes, you heard me right. Online privacy. We will be hosting one Jimmy Bryan just to talk to us about what online privacy entails and how we can ensure that we are secure when using the internet. And I am very grateful for the kind words. Remy Kipchirchir, asante sana for tuning in to the show today. Now, privacy for most people is making sure that your curtains are closed when you're going to sleep, is making sure that when you're using the bathroom, you have closed the door, or when you're changing your clothes, you're well secured in a room, or even maybe when you're visiting a doctor, the consultation is done behind closed doors. That is privacy, and it comes naturally to most people. But there's one kind of privacy that we have neglected, and this is online privacy. Most people do not even understand what online privacy entails. And here are some interesting facts about online privacy.
Social media has changed the landscape of internet privacy, in part by creating a culture founded on sharing. Here are some of the social media privacy facts. Number 1.
Default privacy settings can expose your personal information.
According to a 2018 report from the Pew Research Center, 74% of adult Facebook users say they didn't know Facebook kept a list of their personal interest, and over half of those respondents say they were not comfortable with the company having such sensitive details. Number 2.
The rise in data breaches puts your information at risk.
The greater the amount of sensitive information you have online, the more concerning data breaches become. According to the 2019 TELS Data Threat Report, 65% of the respondents have experienced a breach. Out of those respondents, 36% experienced a breach in 2018 compared to just 26% in 2017. Number 3.
Your friends can compromise your social media privacy.
According to a 2018 survey from the Pew Research Center, 69% of adults use at least one social media platform, which means the majority of your social circle use one or more of the same platform you do. Your friends might let Facebook access their contact list, which can expose your phone number and email addresses to trackers. Likes, comments, and the general exchange of information between you and your friends get encoded on each other's profiles. Number 4.
Syncing apps spreads your personal information across the web.
Using your social media account to sign into other online accounts may make the internet logging easier, but it also limits your privacy. When you sync two apps or accounts, you give both apps permission to access the data on the corresponding platforms. A 2018 study from the International Computer Science Institute said that 8 of the 10 global advertising and tracking companies reserve the right to sell or share data with other organizations. Therefore, it's important not only to review and update your privacy settings, but to double-check your synced apps and read privacy policies carefully.
All right, talking of online privacy, I earlier talked to one Jimmy Bryan from UpKing Solutions, and this is what he had to say. Well, Jimmy, thank you for joining our discussion today, and we talk about online privacy. So I want to ask you, from your perspective, why is it important to have privacy online?
I think, thank you so much, Sarah, for your question. Privacy online is good just as we would like to have privacy in actual life, because nowadays how life has become, it's very difficult to differentiate between online living and actual living. It's one and the same thing if there's such a term. So there's a lot of need for us to ensure that we protect our our online information, because this is where we share a lot of our information. We have a lot of social interactions in these platforms. So we have a lot of living or a lot of life in social platforms. So how is it that we ensure that the information that we dissipate is secure and it cannot be used against us to harm people who we love or to cause harm to us in person? So it becomes an issue of interest because of the kind of penetration that we have when it comes to internet, the kind of technological advances that come into play. It's almost impossible for someone to live outside the internet. And now, the good internet, now it comes to the bad part, especially the issues of cybersecurity, the issues of the information we dispatch outside, how safe is it? So it becomes a very important issue of discussion.
Okay, I like what you're saying, and that brings me to the fact that, you know, a lot of people and even children right now have access to gadgets that can access the internet. So basically, most Kenyans have access to the internet. But is our internet really safe, and especially not only for the grown-ups, even for our children?
I think internet is just like going to the marketplace. You cannot describe a marketplace to be safe, but you can take precautionary measures to ensure that it's safe. The same applies to internet. Internet is a very safe place. But then now, what measures do we take? It's safe and very unsafe. But now, what measures do we put to ensure that it becomes safe for our living? Because if it's, let's say, for an issue of children, there are phones that you can be able to monitor the kind of applications and browsers that your kids are accessing. So that maybe if you want to advise them, you want to ensure that the kind of content they access, you can be able to regulate them. Then on the other side again, sometimes we have the small capacity to induce, for example, what the kind of sites that you want to go to look at. Let's say if it's our password, what are the best practices? So these are information that are there, although there is no one who gives us lecture on these things, but these practices are there. The best practices of the internet, they are there. So I'd say that internet is safe because it's enabling a lot of things, but it's also unsafe depending on how we want to use it. So I think it's a matter of choice.
It's a matter of choice, and I like that. Well, I want to make it a little bit practical. So when you're logging into your internet accounts, you have the login name and you have the password. And sometimes people tend to make a very hard passwords to understand, for lack of a better word, strong passwords, you know. And they say, or they claim that these strong passwords will actually secure their account. Am I right to say that?
Yeah, that's true. It's one of the best practices because there are people who are usually online and they want to cyberbully. And in cyberbullying, one of the things they do, there's what we call basic IT phishing. In phishing is where someone tries to follow a track record, trace, so that they can obtain critical information from you. One of the ways is when you have a loose password, because traditionally, and even now, you still find people want to put their password, their date of birth.
Yes.
Someone wants to put password as pet, where they are born, where they stay. So these are things that you can just sit down and master such a behavior. In behavioral science, that's something that people want to go that is way. But what I try to do, and as a safe practice, one of the things you can do is to, for example, use mother tongue, use things like hash.
Wow.
So these are
use mother tongue.
Yeah.
That's a nice one.
No one will really come and take that password instead of you putting Sarah or Sarah 123. You put something, let's say, in your local language. Even just so there are a couple of ways that you can do that. It's very hard for the person who's trying to prey on you to get to you. So such practices help a lot. Also, some people try to ensure that you change your password over time, because there are people, for example, you go to offices, they write their password and put it somewhere near their desk. So it's easy for someone to come and find that one and use it to do other things. So also, if you try to be changing, it helps to ensure that someone cannot use that information 3 months later, 1 month later to bully you. Yes,
well,
yes.
and maybe apart from maybe the use of strong passwords to access your accounts, maybe what are some other strategies that we can, or measures that we can put in place to ensure that our privacy online is secured?
I think one of the things, again, some of them are not even from individual perspective. One thing about IT and tech is that it came, and it overran a lot of things that they are not even good regulations that are in place for to control some of these behaviors. Because, for example, right now, if I download one of the money lending apps,
yes,
they will ask me to access my contacts, to access my messages, to access everything. And so you find that these people are able to even to access my location. So to me, that these people, they know who my mother is. They have a contact with all those frequent people whom I talk to. Like they literally own me. This should not be the case. In a good banking practice, that should not be the case. There are also these issues where you go to some of the website and they have cookies where they insist that you have to accept the cookies, and some of those cookies are not used for good for healthy reasons.
Yes.
So they're able to trail the kind of browsers that you are going to as in your computer. So some of these things you find that they now come to control your privacy, because if someone, even some of these phones, they are able to even take your picture when you don't know, like I'm here, then just a snapshot of my picture can be recorded. So these ones really come to interfere with my personal space, because I've downloaded a money lending app. Instead of just lending me money, they have all my contacts, they have my location.
Yes.
So this become a challenge. So I think maybe if we have government regulations in the near future, we should say that an application should not be allowed to have all that much access to data on my side, because they have too much information about me. So this information, at times they use them for bad reasons, because some people even go to sell this information and they're not used against you. Yeah.
Okay.
So one of them is government, because now regulations have to be put in place to control such things. Yes.
Okay.
And then also just as a person, you can refuse to some of the things like cookies. Some of them you can just refuse to access, because at times they ask you some of the links that you find online, and you just click not knowingly. Then they lead you to some of the places where they give you information. You get into a website and they ask you to feed in some of their vital information.
Yeah.
They have their date of birth, they have their names, then you just feed in such information. So I think we must also be rational about the kind of information that we want to give
out to the internet.
To the internet. Then even some of these sites, they want to store some of their critical information, like pictures. You've taken some critical pictures and you just want to put them somewhere on the internet, thinking that they're safe. But then one day you go and log in a cyber and you leave without logging out. Someone can be able to come access that information, and now they start using it against you. One of the things that is now emerging is cyberbullying, where you find people, after they access such pictures from you, they now tell you that, Jimmy, you have to send me 100,000 in 2 days.
Yeah.
If you don't send it, I'm going to release these pictures pictures of you to the internet. Then because maybe there are some details that you don't want to be released, you now have to
You
either
have
comply.
to submit and send the money.
So for us to limit situations where such things can arise, I think if we just take the necessary caution, it would be the best way to go.
Okay. I like what you're saying, Jimmy, because I tend to believe that sometimes just carelessness and the character of an individual can actually expose us online. Like you said, just leaving your password or not logging even out or to your email and all that. And there is one character that people have. You know, every time, maybe using the different social media platforms, you find that you have gone somewhere or you're doing something even with your children, and you end up posting your location on the internet, posting the photos of your children in the internet, and sometimes they're very young. Could this expose us to security issues when it comes to our online platforms?
Yes, this really exposes us to a lot of risk because, for example, I'm going to Mombasa right now with my wife and my kids, and I've posted when I'm going to the airport. I've posted when we are getting there. I've posted my date, and I've even put my PIN there. Then on the phone, the location is on. Then I post as we are leaving. I get to Mombasa, where I get to, I've also posted. So to me, that I really become vulnerable to someone, let's say, the issue of kidnapping. Because someone is able to tell me, if they wanted to kidnap me, they know where I am. And then the opposite also, they know that if I was from my home, most likely there's no one there. So they really know if they wanted to go there, there's now the time for them to go there. So I think much as it's a trend, you want to show how cool you are, you want to show how achieving how life is happening your way.
Yes.
If you go to Hemingway's, they must know that you are at Hemingway's, which is good. But then if you must, I think at times it's good that you do it, you make it like a TBT, a history. If you went to Mombasa today, can you post it
next
3 days
week
after?
or next month?
Or next week. Yeah, because maybe the only mistake would be that Jimmy ameposta ameenda Mombasa na tuko nimemwona town saizi.
But if you make it clear in TBT and say this one is happened kitambo.
Yeah, so you have really to be critical about not letting out the information real time.
Yes.
Because when you give out the information real time, there are people who wake up every day and just go online looking for the next client. You become very vulnerable and you most likely will be their next client. So yes, it's not bad to post, but how you post them, you have to be objective. There's no way you're posting for us that you are now here, you are now here. Like you can just observe your trends. If you put you on a basic analytic tool, you can know that every weekend is always on a trip to Ishago. Every Monday, Tuesday is always at work. So you become a very predictable tool.
Yeah.
And through basic machine learning, someone can be able to know everything about you and make sense out of it. If someone, let's say, wanted to steal from your home or to, it's very easy for someone to predict what you're doing. So I think you should not put all your life
on the social media. I like that. Well, lastly, before we end this conversation, just in pointer form, kindly help us understand how we can ensure that our privacy on the online platforms, because internet is catching up day in, day out. You have a new platform that emerges, and most of the time it's not something that you will just pass by with this generation. So how can we ensure that we are safe online?
I think it has to be one of the things that I see is how do you access, if you start with how do you access the internet. Some people use, for example, public Wi-Fi. When you use a public Wi-Fi, it's very easy for someone to access to snoop through and see what is it that you're accessing, to find the kind of information that you are accessing, and they can use it for their own good. So when you're getting to the internet, by what means? I think it's very good that you either use private Wi-Fi, and if you can, as much as possible, let it be private. Let's say, for example, your data bundles. This will ensure that you don't become vulnerable, because sometimes you go to a public Wi-Fi, then it's very easy for someone to hack you. Then another thing that is a best practice nowadays for organization, some of the key information.
Let me just take you back a little bit, Jimmy. You said that the issue of using public Wi-Fi, and I know with this generation, you go somewhere in a matatu, in a building. Now, the first question a person would ask you, kuna Wi-Fi? What's the past one? So sometimes we're doing this, and it's even putting us at more risk, and we don't know about it.
I think at least when the Wi-Fi has a password, it's a bit safe. Because if the owners, the regulators of the Wi-Fi are able to, let's say, frequently do best practices like changing the Wi-Fi, it's not a problem. But then there are places where you go, like if you're in some places in Rwanda, you just get somewhere and your phone is on Wi-Fi. Like if you just want to just add your on public Wi-Fi, those ones are the ones that become much more vulnerable.
Yeah.
But the ones where there's passwords and there's encoding, there's no much issue that arises out of that.
Okay, I understand.
Majorly the ones that are not the public ones. Majorly are the ones that you just get in, and if your phone is on, it just automatically logs into the Wi-Fi.
Okay, carry on.
So yeah, so for public Wi-Fi's, that one could be one of the things that we'd like to avoid. Then another best practice is that nowadays I see organizations practice is when you have key information, because another thing that happens a lot in cyberbullying and what we now call cyber hacking is a situation where, for example, an organization, people come and hack into your information from outside. So one of the things that people nowadays do is that we ensure that some of the, for example, if you have finance, some of this critical organizational information, you don't put them on over the internet, because at times the security of the internet can be questionable. You can just network the computers within the organization on LAN, so that it's just a local network. Then again, there's also now, you can pin and say that this kind of information can only be accessed, even if it's on internet, but only within this compound, only within a radius of, let's say, 100 meters from the organization. Because some of these people who are doing these things to find someone is in Russia, someone is in the US, but they are data mining something that is here, they use that one to bully you. So if we ensure that, for example, you ensure that within 100 meters outside the organization, no one can access such information, it becomes good to ensure that if there is a cause to worry, most likely it's something not from within. Although now the problem is also that at times you have people doing these things from within.
Yeah.
So now that one is an issue of integrity, and the responsibility of the internet.
Yeah.
Then,
but these restrictions can be put in institutions to actually reduce the issue of cybersecurity. Okay, I like that.
So these are things, because integrity is something that you cannot fight. If you have a cheating husband, even if you take them to church, that may not help, because integrity is something that is inward. So if you have a staff who is colluding with people from outside, even if you do some of these good practices, it may not be of much help. Another thing is for kids. For kids, there are these tablets that are now, a lot of them are in the market, where you find that they have specific user, the user, let me call it menu, so that if it's a kid, you have kid stuff in this tablet, and they don't have to access adult stuff in this computer, because you find that now a lot of kids have these phones and they're accessing bad information. Like, for example, what we've been seeing with the girls recently, and the boys in the 17 years and below, they access things like pornography online. They have their groups on Instagram, they plan their parties, they go having a lot of bad things that maybe they should not be able to, that should not be able to happen. And then, of course, it's also possible for you to clone a phone, where you give your kid a phone and they're able to see the kind of content that they are accessing.
And this comes in as a responsibility to the parents in regulating what these children are watching.
Because you have to regulate. See, I think it's someone below 18. I think it's good to regulate the kind of content that they access, so that one will help to solve such a situation. Because just on the issue of adolescents, you remember the other day there's these doctors at Kenyatta Hospital who were crying that their kid has disappeared, that they were just saying that she's just always in the bedroom. But maybe in that bedroom with a phone, she's doing everything.
Yes.
Then when later on they found out that she actually had gone to see a man somewhere. But then you find that, yes, she's in the room, but she's doing a lot with the phone. So if you are not able to monitor this content, you think that she never goes out, she's a very good girl or a good boy. But then maybe they are doing a lot over the internet on their phone, and there are a lot of praise, people who are preying on them. So if you're able to control the kind of content that we leave to them, that we let them access, I think that would really be of great Well,
Oh, wow.
then I think there are things like mobile applications, these loans that give money. I think if government was to come up with regulations where they are structured, because some of them just behave like Satan operating on earth with the full agents, because someone accesses your full contacts when you don't pay the loan. Let's say in 1 2 days they start calling everyone on your contact list, they start texting everyone.
Yes,
because
I've
you
had
allowed
cases
them,
of that.
because you allowed them to access that kind of content. So again, we talked about the issue of choice. You may choose not to deal with them because you see that they do not have your good intent at heart. And if someone doesn't have your good intent for you at heart, I think it's okay for someone who's adult say that I will not transact with them, so that you go to structured places, because there are some people who offer similar services, but they are structured and they know the issues of data privacy and they keep that at heart. But I agree, you should be able to sue them. If you are a good lawyer, you can go to court, because that one is breaching data privacy.
Okay. Well, I like that.
So some of those things.
Sorry,
then of course now some of these things are also not very easy to control, especially as we move into this frontier. Because for example, majorly when I go shopping, I do use, let's say, online. You pay either through a card or through M-Pesa online. Then most likely after 2 days, 3 days, you find they start sending for you targeted messages.
Yes.
So to mean that this information most times, even when you pay, it's not safe. It's not safe. So they just use it to drive their own agendas of selling to you. So maybe through regulations, I think such things can be controlled. And also, if you are making payments online, you should be able to really ensure that the kind of internet that you are paying, for example, there are exams that, let's say, for example, I was taking some exams in the UK. When you pay exam, you just have the card and you do all these things from the things online. You know, if you're not careful, the kind of internet you use, someone can be able to escape with all their money from your card.
Yeah.
So the issue of when you are paying, you should really be careful about from where you are paying that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy. From the look of all of things and all the things that we have discussed, it all comes back to morals and how we can actually regulate ourselves to taking steps that will ensure our security. I'm so grateful for you to have this discussion with us, and have yourself a good evening.
Thank you so much.
Now let's head over to some international stories. And the entire world is anxiously waiting for the day when an effective and market-ready COVID-19 vaccine would return life to normalcy. The World Health Organization lists 191 coronavirus vaccine projects that are underway. 40 of these are in clinical evaluation, which means that they are already being tested on human beings. But wealthy countries are seeking to secure many of these vaccines for themselves once they are licensed and approved. However, experts warn that immunizing the African continent is still difficult despite the vaccine breakthrough that has been met with optimism.
News of AstraZeneca's latest breakthrough in the search for a coronavirus vaccine has been met with optimism by some in Nairobi.
Yeah, there's hope.
Kenya is one of 2 African countries to take part in a trial of the vaccine, developed by the pharmaceutical multinational and Oxford University. Businessman Samuel Uomo wants Africans to now benefit.
Urge our leaders, because it's up to the leaders to engage those who've come up with the vaccine and to see how they can roll it up to Africans.
But immunizing the world's poorest continent remains a challenge. Researchers in the UK on Monday said the AstraZeneca vaccine could be up to 90% effective at preventing COVID-19. It's also cheaper than those developed by Pfizer and Moderna, and can be stored in normal fridges, which could potentially speed up distribution, especially in poorer countries.
Some of these challenges that governments might have.
But Ob Sise, a senior advisor on COVID-19 strategy with the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, said the first challenge governments will have is getting their hands on the vaccine.
The next thing is actually getting the vaccine distributed to your country. And then thirdly, it's setting up the logistics and distribution channels and storage and other things within your own country. So it's a huge undertaking, and African policymakers would do well to be moving fast now, at least.
COVAX, a program led by the World Health Organization and the Gavi Vaccine Group, has signed a provisional agreement to buy AstraZeneca's vaccine. The initiative is aimed at pooling funds from wealthier nations and non-profits to buy and distribute vaccines for poorer countries. It has raised $2 billion and it's expected, though not certain, that less wealthy countries in Africa and Southeast Asia will receive the vaccines at low or no cost under the program in 2021.
Well, there we have it. And remember, yesterday we carried a story on Family Radio that Kenyans will only part with 327 Kenya shillings for this vaccine if the whole process goes through and we have a successful vaccine that is 100% for COVID-19. Well, finally this evening, people are making cars out here, and this is a group of Dutch students, but this time they're making a car out of recycled waste from the ocean. Here they are with this very beautiful story.
This car is very special because it's made all out of waste.
Meet Luca, the bright yellow electric two-seater. It's made from plastics fished out of the ocean, recycled plastic bottles and regular household garbage. It took a group of 22 Dutch students around 18 months to build it.
So we wanted to build a sustainable car, and at some point we read that there are 2.1 billion tons of waste every year. And while we think that's not necessary, we actually see waste as a really valuable material that can be used in complex applications. So that's why we thought we're going to build a car out of waste materials.
The chassis is built out of flax and recycled plastic bottles. Parts of televisions, toys and kitchen appliances make up the rest, while the seat cushions are made of coconut and horsehairs.
We start from scratch, so we have nothing, and we have to build from, well, last year February till now we have to build this car. So it's just from nothing till this, and we have to think of all of ourselves, and nobody's ever built a car before, so that's very difficult, of course, but very awesome to do because you learn a lot about it. So that's the upside of course of it.
Luca can reach a top speed of 56 miles per hour and can drive for 137 miles when fully charged. The students hope their creation will encourage other companies to follow in their sustainable footsteps.
We really hope that other car companies or other companies start using waste materials, because we really want to show that it's possible in many applications. And I think it will take some time, but we are seeing that more and more companies are starting to use either bio-based or waste materials in the interior. And we want to show that it's also possible to build a chassis out of it. And hopefully in the coming years we will also see that happen.
Beautiful brains, and they're actually putting that into practice, and that is what we are all looking for, just to make sure that innovations are put into practice. And also in our country, you have people who are very talented. Look at all the pumps that came up, the what do we call it, the oxygen machines that were built during this time of COVID-19, and some of them were actually absorbed and implemented by the government, and that is what we call promoting talent. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today. My name is Sarah Otieno. Have yourself a lovely night, and I will see you tomorrow.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.